Humans are social creatures, but we aren't the only ones. Gregarious animals hang out together, especially during mating season. But what if you're both sedentary and gregarious, which is another way to say a friendly homebody? The common rock barnacle is in such a predicament. How can they put down roots and make friends and more barnacles? Sometimes you just need to reach out to others in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspulich, Kira Raspulich, and Richard Kaspar. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about sea critters with their own clear plastic-looking straw, but more on that later.
They're the ones that are contributing to that massive Pacific garbage floating island. It's these guys that are putting the plastic straws into our oceans.
It's plastic looking, I'll say.
They should switch
plastic
to paper so that they too can have a straw that breaks down instantly and it doesn't work.
So you can make paper tea out of every drink you
so
drink.
that you can have little like sea monkey level of cardboard floating in all of your nice beverages. But what animal are we talking about? We're talking about the barnacle, the common rock barnacle, or the common barnacle.
Yeah, and this was a animal that was suggested on Twitter by a comet. A full, blazing comet hurtling towards Earth suggested this animal. Is a comet the one? What's the one that breaks the atmosphere?
An asteroid is just out there in space.
Is a comet? Does it mean it's primarily ice?
A comet is it's ice, and its tail is the ice that's being evaporated and burnt off.
Made of dust and ice that orbit the sun. Oh, it has to orbit the sun.
And then a meteor comes to Earth. Or a meteorite is the one that lands on the ground. I think a meteor enters the atmosphere, a meteorite lands on the ground. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But in any case.
Thank you to a comet. A comet. A comet.
Wait, what was the user's? What was the person's name?
A comet.
Oh, just a comet.
Yeah,
I coughed when you said it, so I thought I thought it was oh, this person's name must be Haley.
No, there's an @ but I don't know the procedure for these things where it's somebody just sends us an email, somebody sends us a tweet. Do they want to be put out there on the internet? Do they want us to say their usernames or full names? I'm not really sure.
No, they just want us to use their handles, like a rapper.
This is the nomenclature that they've put as their name, not the @.
All right. Well, thank you, a comet, for your suggestion. It's a slightly different animal than we're used to doing, but an animal nonetheless. The common rock barnacle is also known as, like I said, just the common barnacle, also the northern rock barnacle, but we're going to call it here the barnacle boxer. Barnacle boxing. Get it? And?
Yes.
Flanky Panky.
A comment just suggested barnacles in general. And this one is if you look at it, this is the kind that's underneath boats and stuff. This is the one
This is the common Barnacle. This is the common one.
Yeah.
This is the one where at the bottom right hand of the card, it's just a circle. No diamond, no star, just a circle. If it was in your inventory, it would be gray. Not green, not blue, not purple or yellow. Gray. It's the gray barnacle. But what is a barnacle, you know? Is it a plant? Obviously not. This is an animal podcast. So, what kind of animal is it? Let's taxonomize this.
The taxonomy is quite interesting.
Yes, you might be surprised to learn who the barnacle's brethren are. The kingdom is one you know, love, and of course are in, and that's Animalia. It's an animal. The phylum is Arthropoda, so it's an arthropod, which is
right away. I am surprised. I
was surprised, but
I thought they were mollusks.
But I was surprised, but then I realized I probably shouldn't have been, considering that it's the whole animal is inside of this exoskeleton, which is just quintessentially.
But so is a
arthropod
clam.
thing. No, well, but the clam. I guess.
The clam opens like a barnacle.
But it's not completely enclosed, I guess.
A clam? Oh, I guess I see what you're saying. But please continue.
It is a chitinous exoskeleton. Maybe it is the material. A mollusk's. I don't know.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was a. Yeah.
So arthropods are insects and all kinds of things, including the subphylum Crustacea.
Yes.
So it's a crustacean.
The cellar door.
It is it is kindred with the crabs and the lobsters. And the woodlice. The class is Thecostraca, which is a group of marine invertebrates. Barnacles making up a large portion of those. The subclass is Cirripedia, which will it'll be apparent why it's called that in a bit. Cirri being a huge part of its anatomy, and we know what pedia is. It's to do with its foot, kind of. The order is Balanomorpha. That's an order of just barnacles. Which is probably not as delicious as it sounds. The family is Balanidae. Just bland barnacles. The genus is Semibalanus. And the species is Balanoides. There's a lot of balands going on.
Semibalanus sounds like a negative way to say semi-sweet. It's semi-bland.
Yeah, it's the glass half empty of semi
yeah.
semi-sweet. It's like, oh, it's half sweet. Well, it's also half bland, That's what I'm going to say about every time there's semi-sweet chocolate chips. They're just semi-Balanus chocolate chips. But yeah, the binomial nomenclature is Semibalanus balanoides. So, since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show. Cue the music. Critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal, or what is the term of entry, or what is the collective noun? If you saw a group of barnacles, which if you've seen one barnacle, you have seen a group of barnacles, most likely in the wild, what would you call it? Would you call it A, an encrustment of barnacles? B, a cluster of barnacles? C, a bloom of barnacles? Or D, a ballast of barnacles?
I love an encrustment of barnacles, but I'm going to go with a cluster. Final answer.
Should have gone with your heart. The answer is encrustment.
Dang. See, you always follow your gut.
Or your heart,
Always
whichever organ is best at leading you places.
C.S. Lewis would have said, yeah, your heart, your chest. Your gut, C.S. Lewis, is associated with hedonism, and it needs to be tempered by the chest.
Their god is their belly. That's what Paul says. Yeah, listen to your heart and choose encrustment.
Although the Bible also says
the heart is evil.
Don't listen to your heart.
don't do that. Yeah, it's an encrustment of barnacles. I hate it. I hate this.
I love it. Well, it's very. That's exactly what it is.
It is exactly what it is. It is perfect, and I hate it. Also, just looking at lots of pictures of these encrustments of barnacles, which can be accurately described as clusters of barnacles, is to me pretty gross.
An encrustment is when you put the crust back on your Uncrustables.
You just take, but it's not even the same kind of bread. You just take like whole wheat Pepperidge Farm and like put it, like cut it around your Uncrustable.
Wreathe it.
It's your like crust garnish on your Smucker's Uncrustables.
Crust garnish.
All right. Do you want to know what an encrustment of rock barnacles looks like?
Sure.
Well, there's actually not a whole lot to them, at least on the outside. They are little pock marks. They're little domes, little volcanoes attached to the sides of rocks and just any structure that's really in the intertidal zone. They have 6 grayish wall plates that are all around in this kind of hexagonal form. And at the top of them, they don't all meet together. At the top of them is a device called an operculum, which is an opening, something that they could open and close. Just more plates. And this operculum, so when you're looking at it and it's closed, it just looks like a bunch of plates together in this just hard shell. That's all you're seeing is a shell. But when the barnacle is underwater, the operculum opens, and this appendage called the cirri, which is what we mentioned earlier, this comes from the subclass Cirripedia. This feathery appendage extends out into the water, and it's used to filter food, to eat. These cirri, at least for the common rock barnacle, it's just a kind of a brown, like comb of tentacles, kind of like a sea star feathery appendage that sticks out. And it's kind of, it acts as a comb, acts as a net in order to capture food. But that's pretty much all you're going to see of the inside of a barnacle. If you see if it's all dried out, then you're just going to see the husk. But the actual animal that's inside of the shell is a huge part of its anatomy. It's this big cirri. It's like, hey Siri, what's there to eat? Zooplankton, buddy. But they are pretty small. They're small, like pimple things. So how small are they?
How small are they? Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have any measure up intro this week. So that means we get to hear from a Barnacle. A Barnacle is going to introduce the show.
Is it everyone's favorite Barnacle? Is it everyone's favorite sidekick?
Oh, no, it isn't.
No, it's not Barnacle Boy?
I don't think so. No, I forgot about Barnacle Boy. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Do you know what that sound is?
I don't believe it's a barnacle.
It is, but not the kind we're talking about. It's a barnacle, which is a sedentary alien from Half-Life that like reaches its tongue down at you and like tries to grab you.
Oh, it's those. Yeah, I think they're just called barnacles. You're right.
Yes,
those things are terrifying. Their tongues just hang down, and if you get caught in one, it just rises you up to the surface, and you're just like, "Huh? I wonder why everything's starting to get further away." And then you look up, and this giant like alien mouth is munching on your face.
Barnacles do make a sound, like a slight clicking sound when they open and close. And there is a video of that, but it's one of those videos that's super annoying where it's like, I'm going to talk for 20 minutes and then I'm going to play room noise for another 5 before you hear the clicking randomly one time, very briefly, and then more room noise. So I didn't want to play it.
Yeah, you gotta, when you're making these videos, you gotta turn your room noise generator just all the way down.
Or just edit. You already edit it. Just cut out some of the dead air. Why? Okay. That's neither here nor there. It's everywhere. Let's talk length. They're between 2.5 centimeters to 7.5 centimeters. I don't forget what that is in freedom units. How many barnacles go into the height of Samus Aran? Oh, by the way, this is we're still in the age of empathy of Measure Up, where we focus on Carlos's likes and interests in order to soften the blow of having to do math. So you just finished Metroid, right?
Yes.
So we're talking, and you said video games is one of the things that you care about. So we're talking Samus Aran. How many barnacles go into the height of this space bounty hunter? Here's a hint. The Metroid character Samus Aran is a human that was adopted and raised by the mysterious alien race, the Chozo. Though she is human by birth, she was infused with Chozo DNA. She's described as a super athlete beyond the capabilities of a normal human, even outside the suit. Here are her height is something of a debate. Her height is first listed in an issue of Nintendo Power under a section on personal data, which sounds like it's inherent to her without her iconic orange suit. But when she is outside her suit, she is almost never depicted at that canonical height.
And she's not outside her suit in the entirety of the only Metroid game I've played, which is Metroid Prime.
She's outside the suit in Other M, and she's like, if you look at her height compared to other characters, it doesn't look right. Her height is not right in Super Smash when she's outside the suit, but no one's is. Like Pikachu's supposed to be like really tiny, and Ridley, her bad guy, is supposed to be like like huge, but they're all like, they all have to share a stage.
Yeah, it would be really annoying if you had to play Pikachu and it's like an actual mouse. But also in the video, even in the shows and video game. Pikachu's not an actual mouse. He's more like a cat. But still, wouldn't want to play a fighting game where I had to play something the size of a cat. I don't know. I'm going to say maybe the Chozo DNA made her 6. And
she was adopted by the Chozo when she was 3, I think. Or no, her Chozo training began when she was 3.
But you said she was like infused with the DNA, right? That sounds like something that would make you taller. And I did fight the Chozo ghosts and stuff in Metroid Prime, and they were pretty tall. So, you know, a little like bird alien reptilian almost things. I'm gonna say 6 feet, which would be pretty tall for a girl, but not out just out of this world. So maybe 6.5 feet. That's really uncommon. So 6 feet. 6. $26. 26 barnacles go into the height of Samus Aran.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is 25.
Oh, that is a victory.
Samus is 6'3".
Oh, wow.
Although modern Samus is depicted as at between like 5'3" and 5'5", which I don't like. I like the idea of this space bounty hunter being like a Master Chief, like more than a normal human. Let her be 6'3".
Here's the thing. On one hand, you have a cool bounty hunter in the suit that until pretty recently I didn't even know was a girl. And then on the other hand, outside of the suit, you have to have an anime girl, and she can't be 6.5 feet tall.
She can. You can be hot and tall.
Not by Japanese anime standards. You have to be small and pathetic in order to be attractive. I bet you outside of the suit, she's pigeon-toed. I bet you.
Some things that surprised me about that issue of Nintendo Power, where it says that she's 6'3" and 198 pounds.
Whew.
Which is that's a hero, like genetically modified hero height and weight. Good, do that. That's interesting. But then you look at, there's a diagram of her, like where she is in the suit. Like the suit is transparent, you can see her inside. And her the big shoulder pads, her shoulders are nowhere near it. Her shoulders are fully enclosed in the torso of the suit, which means halfway down her bicep, her arm is the first time her arm clears the torso, which also means how does she like reach up and forward and stuff?
Like her fingers are articulating. It sounds like by your standard that what you're describing, she can't. Her hands wouldn't reach into the glove at the end of the suit. She wouldn't be able to do that.
No, it does. It does. So I don't know.
I doubt they put a whole lot of thought into this.
Despite that discrepancy, the art here looks quite cool. Of her inside the suit.
I just think Samus is cool, and it was a cool video game.
Yeah, it is.
And I got it right, or basically almost. I was 3 inches off, and therefore 1 barnacle because it's 3 inches.
Let's move on to the next thing that Carlos is interested in, and talk about diameter. The diameter of a barnacle is about 15 millimeters or 0.6 inches. How many barnacle diameters go into the groove diameter of a rifle capable of firing the largest caliber rifle cartridge?
Is that the 4-bore?
I don't know.
That's not your hint. The answer is 4-bore.
No, I'm talking about the cartridge itself in the hint. So the cartridge was developed by weapon designer J.D. Jones for SSK Industries in Ohio. The cartridge propels a 3,600 grain bullet.
Back on these grains like we're farmers.
Back on these grains like I gave up my like I gave up on being gluten intolerant.
You gotta go to the gym to get those grains. I'm guessing it's an inch. I'm gonna say an inch. The diameter of this bullet is an inch, which is massive. Because I remember seeing the 4-bore rifle cartridge. That was very big. I don't know if it was a full inch, but maybe. Which, if you think, oh, a 50 caliber, that's a big bullet. This is twice that much.
You have a frame of reference.
I do, but I made it myself, so you're not anchoring. I'm my own man. 15 millimeters is 0.6 inches. So I'm going to say 2. I'm just going to go ahead and say 2.
2 barnacles, final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is 1.6.
Yeah, it's 1 inch, isn't it?
The cartridge is the 0.950
inches.
JDJ, which is a diameter of 0.95 inches or 24.1 millimeters.
Yeah,
so just shy of an inch. Yeah.
I was just going with the round numbers. I was just like, okay, if 15 millimeters is 0.6 inches, then we'll get to 1.2 inches. But that's in bullet size. That's actually a pretty significant difference.
Pretty close, though. You're good instincts. It turns out you do have better frames of reference for things you're interested
But
in.
also, we are not talking about astronomical numbers, which makes a big difference.
That's true.
The things I'm interested in are not in the trillions of miles.
If I could find an astronomical number in something that you're interested in, I will do it. I will find him.
I mean, I am interested in...
That's from Man of Steel.
I am interested in astronomy, but I don't practice astronomy because I don't have the tools or the time.
Yeah, this was more about like your current favorite, because when I do measure up, usually it's whatever my current interest is. Like that week, the thing I did a deep dive on that week.
Oh, so the thing I did a deep dive on this week was the Civil War. So we could have done, and guess what they used in the Civil War? One of my top 3, guns.
Not children.
Well, my top 3 was guns, guitars, and video games.
I forgot about guitars.
I mean, I'm always doing a deep dive into the world of parenthood, but
whether you want to or not,
so
it's your duty.
You could do that. No, they give me enough duty to last me a lifetime.
Well, that's all I've got for that. Maybe next week we can talk about the Civil War and guitars.
Yeah, and how rock and roll saved the Union. Yeah. Let's do some fast facts before we get into the major fact. The common barnacle lives in the intertidal zones of most northern oceans, all over Scandinavia, Canada, and the UK. It can reach as far south as North Carolina. The constraint is that it only matures and breeds in colder waters, which I hope is not stepping on the major fact too much. But the water needs to be a certain temperature in order for these things to happen. So that's why it only lives in the higher latitudes. And intertidal zones are places that are underwater when the tide is high and exposed when the tide is low. So a place that is not always underwater or not always exposed. It has both. So that goes for all the places where you think a barnacle would be that's an intertidal zone. So like most barnacles, the common rock barnacle is a filter feeder that uses its cirri, those little fan tentacles we talked about earlier, to capture zooplankton, or however you want to call it. And detritus, so just little scraps of organic material, which could be feces, it could be dead things, it could be bits and pieces of prey.
Feces.
It could be feces.
It definitely is pieces of feces. A lot
for
of the
sure.
time.
It's great to be a barnacle. If the current is strong, then it'll just hold those tentacles, the cirri, out like a net to catch whatever happens to come by. But if the current is weak and there's not a lot of things coming by, it will flap them around rhythmically. So it'll flap its cirri. Just life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to keep an eye out for predators, which, they can't because they don't have eyes. And they also can't move. So at least in the behavior department that I have here, there isn't a lot to talk about because they're stuck in one place, like coral or sea fans. They are predated on by marine snails called whelks, small fish called shannies. That's nice. That sounds so Irish. Oh, you caught yourself a shanny. They're also eaten by sea stars and nudibranchs. So,
sea stars, but not brothars.
What? I just searched the whole Rolodex of my brain for that reference, and I couldn't find it.
Sea stars, not brothars. Sisters.
Oh,
brothers.
Man. That wasn't even a reference. That was just
No.
That pun just did like a full split. You stretched it so much. It's ready to run a marathon. It is fully stretched. So basically, it's easy prey for things that are slow and determined, like snails and sea stars and nudibranchs. And that's all I got.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk major fact. I forgot to name this. Maybe we'll come up with it throughout. Oh, I think I know what I'm going to
Flanky Panky.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Barnacles are sedentary, like you mentioned, which means they stick around. They don't go on journeys to the lonely mountain. They remain in tidal pools stuck to rocks, piers, and poorly maintained watercraft, and sometimes the chinny chin of a baleen whale, which is, it's got to be the luxury cruise of being a barnacle.
You don't have to flap your cirri at all.
Yeah, we're going to the food whether we want to or not. We're going to sail through the detritus clouds left behind by krill. So however, they don't reproduce asexually like a starfish. For barnacles, it takes two to tango. When they do set up camp in groups, the nearest neighbors could be inches away. And I say that meaning that's quite a distance for when you want a tango. Unchained. Other animals in this predicament would go the way of plants and simply release genetic material into the area to be collected by receptive partners. And I forgot what this is called. I don't even know. Based on like what I was trying to describe to Google, it didn't tell me. But in plants, it's called seed dispersal. But I forgot what that is called in animals. Hopefully someone will tell us.
I forgot too. But
barnacles prefer the old-fashioned way. Challenges aside. So what can they do? They develop the longest male reproductive organ relative to size of any animal. Did you know this?
I thought it was the fly, the fruit fly.
No.
That had just like
I thought it was too. Yeah.
Had a like a inch long member, despite the fact that it's like a millimeter long.
I don't know. Well, this one's long. So to call these appendages redacted, a male reproductive organ, is to simplify its capabilities. Let's say that. It's not just a male reproductive organ because it can do some pretty crazy stuff. Barnacle doodads do more than make more.
That was their political slogan when they were trying to get voting rights.
Yeah. It has multiple senses, including touch, taste, and smell, which is necessary because how else can you tell if you're reaching another barnacle or a scandalized crab?
It's a violated crab.
You gotta taste it. You gotta taste it. Let me give that a taste. Is that what I want? No, it isn't. It's a crab. And he's angry. He tastes and smells angry. When they reach another barnacle with eggs ready for fertilization, their barnacle's senses tingle and they release sperm. Or male germ cells, if you will.
Hey, we did the sperm whale episode. We've said that word enough.
That's true. Barnacles are hermaphroditic, which means they have both male and female reproductive powers. Any barnacle in an area can have a clutch of eggs and a tidal tickler at the same time.
Tidal ticklers. That's good. Are they tidal tinklers?
Once their eggs... I don't know if they tinkle from the ticklers or not. So once their eggs are fertilized, they will hold onto them and protect them until they hatch into nauplii. There's two I's in a row at the end there. Which are tiny larvae that roam the waters, eating and growing. If you want to roam as a barnacle, this is the stage of life for you. And then they turn into cyprids, which need to find a home quickly because they cannot eat during this stage. It's like when you don't want to go to the bathroom in public. You've got to get home. You've got to find a home because you can't go.
The clock is ticking.
It's like that, but the opposite. You're trying to put stuff in, but you can't until you get home. Instead of making detritus. Then they become barnacles, and the process starts all over again.
They become part of the ship, part of the crew.
Part of the crew. That's right. Part of the promiscuous crew that's sending out tidal ticklers to all the neighbors.
Yeah, but until the HOA cracks down on that.
But that's all I got.
It's Tuesday tidal tickler, and then on every other day of the week you have to conserve.
You have to be more conservative. You have to be more.
You have to practice abstinence.
Mm-hmm.
But Tuesdays are wild. It's an eyes wide shut party. Which is,
if you know what's going on, that's kind of what when you look at a group of barnacles, that's what's going on. And it looks like a clear plastic straw. So if you were picturing something more scandalous, you would never even know, but now you know.
Now you know if you're swimming around near barnacles. It's you're witnessing lewd acts.
Yeah, they're tasting around.
You're witnessing a swingers party. This is their end life stage, right? So it really is just it's a swingers party. It's that party at the beginning of The Grinch.
Yeah, but these guys are doing it specifically to make moss, to live moss and make moss.
To Taco Bell and bell some taco. I don't know what I'm saying. It's almost 11 o'clock at night.
Sounded uncouth, whatever it was.
I still think flanky panky is the best way to describe it.
Flanky?
Because they're stuck to the flanks of things.
Oh, that's right. I thought you said planky, like walk the plank. Or plankton.
Or okay, yeah, that works too. But yeah. So now, if you're a little bit grossed out by seeing a cluster of barnacles stuck to something, you now have a legitimate reason to be grossed out.
It's the circle of life,
Yeah, it's like when like a house fly lands on something, and you're like, "Ew, that's gross. I don't want a fly to touch, like my sandwich or whatever." And then you find out that fly just probably either defecated on your sandwich or laid eggs. It just you just have an even more reason to think that what you just saw is disgusting.
Not always. If it's been there for a bit, maybe. But like when it lands for a second, it's really just getting a lay of the land.
And spitting on its hands.
Yeah, well.
Nothing about what the fly is doing on your sandwich is sanitary. And we have a lot of flies, so it's fly season, at least here in Jacksonville, and they are everywhere. Especially on my sandwich. So you got anything else?
That's all I got.
All right. So for you out there in Podcastia, find a wall, stick to it, and by golly, flap those Siri like your life depends on it. Like the common barnacle here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
I should have said something about what the major fact, but I did not know what the major fact was going to be.
I'm glad you did.